is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network. And welcome to the Political Review. My name is Quincy Parker. I am delighted to be your host on this wonderful Sunday. Tonight, I'm getting feedback on my voice. And so I'll do a 1, 2, 3 until that goes away. But I want to first and foremost greet the Commonwealth of the Bahamas on this, a new day. It is, in fact, a new day. And on this new day, I have some humble pie to eat because I am the same individual who declared in recent days that the Free National Movement would win the election and would win the election handily. And the reality is that not only did the Free National Movement not win the election, but the Free National Movement was decimated at the polls. The FNM managed to capture 7 of 39 seats. And that is a brutal beating. And of course, on today's show, one of the things that we'll try and talk through is, of course, how that beating came about. And they captured 7 out of 39 seats. And to start off the show, I wish to say to the incoming Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Philip Brave Davis, congratulations on achieving what I understand to be the pinnacle of a lifelong dream. And I saw with great amusement the photograph of Christy Davis, Ingram and Co. That has been circulating recently, in which former Prime Ministers Ingram and Christie are congratulating the third member of their law firm on joining what is no doubt an elite fraternity of prime ministers of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And I want to stick a pin there and come back to the fact that the last 4 prime ministers, well, every prime minister that we've had since Pimbley is someone who is related closely to the other prime minister. And that is true even of Dr. Minnis, who I believe was Mr. Ingram's physician back in the day. So not as an OBGYN, obviously, but I think there was some connection there. Yeah, so it was a beating. It was a beating. Uh, in the early moments after the polls closed, it was clear, I think, that something was brewing, and I had the privilege of sharing space with Jerome Sawyer and a few colleagues, and Dr. Ken Major and Kenyatta Gibson, former Speaker of the House and former Gaming Board Chairman, and former MP Kenyatta Gibson. And it was clear to us that the election was taking a turn that was not quite what had been predicted by those people who seriously study politics. There was, prior to the election, in the PLP camp, the idea that there was a quote unquote wave with Brave. And even though the election might seem to bear that out, I remain of the view that that wave didn't really exist. But the results speak for themselves. I'm of the view, and I think that once the research is done and once all the data is analyzed, it will be made very plain that the Progressive Liberal Party succeeded in this election by getting out the vote. And the Free National Movement failed in this election by failing to get out the vote. And the reasons for that failure have been made, they've been speculated upon by now, almost, ad infinitum, since election night. But I think it's clear that the presumption, let me rephrase, the presumption of the electorate that Dr. Minnis and members of his cabinet were arrogant and disconnected from the reality that Bahamians are dealing with played a large part in the apathy of FNMs to come out and vote. Now, there's something that the late Dr. Miles Monroe taught years upon years ago when he was first teaching about purpose and potential. And one of the things that he taught, which has come to be something that I believe to be true, is that perception is reality. And that is a hurdle that some people in this past election just could not jump over. The perception of the electorate that they were arrogant, the perception of the electorate that they lacked care and concern, the perception of the electorate that they did not feel connected to the pain and suffering and the serious doubts about the future and the fear that people are rightly experiencing. And the the perception that their actions were not taken with the best interests of ordinary Bahamians in mind. And what I want to say to Dr. Minnis et al. Is that it doesn't matter whether that's real or true. It doesn't matter whether you were arrogant or not. What matters is that that is how people perceived you. It doesn't matter whether you didn't care. What matters is that that is what people perceived. And for all of the amazing things that I think were accomplished under the Minnis administration, and I think there were some amazing things accomplished under the Minnis administration, the reality is that the electorate just didn't feel like they cared. And as a result, people who were FNMs and couldn't bring themselves to vote for anybody but the FNM chose to stay home. And I know that for a fact in a number of cases. And the people who were disillusioned with the FNM because of their perception of Dr. Minnis and his cabinet, and this sense of arrogance and disconnection from ordinary people, voted for someone else. They voted for the Coalition of Independents, or they voted, in very rare cases, for the DNA. And so this election was, in a number of instances, one at the expense of the FNM, where you would have seen percentages that suggest that if those people had voted for the FNM instead of the Coalition of Independents, the FNM might have won the seat, or could have won the seat. And so I think that as in our last general election, there were good members of parliament who were sacrificed on the altar of, I don't like the leader. And the reality is that those FNMs who stayed home, in my view, have forfeited their right to complain, forfeited their right to comment, forfeited their right to do anything but sit and enjoy the new day that is the Brave Davis administration. Because on the 16th, they had every opportunity and every means to ensure that the Free National Movement was returned, and they chose, out of whatever reason, whether it's spite of Dr. Minnis or whatever, they chose to stay home. And as a result, the election, which could have been, and I maintain, had everybody come out to vote, it would have been a much closer affair. And I think the Minnis administration would have still won the government, but probably would have lost on the order of 12, 13 seats. The reality is, this is where we are. I have some friends who have been constantly spanking me for my views and telling me that I was wrong and that the wave is real and that Brave was going to kill it and so on and so forth. And so to those friends, I say, it looks like you were right and I was wrong. So I have done my mea culpas. I have eaten my humble pie. It tastes fine to me because I do not resile myself from any of the positions that I have held in the past. I think the FNM lost the election because some angry FNM stayed home, and I think that they cost themselves, the government, that they should be ashamed, and that they should be spanked, frankly speaking. Now, looking forward instead of looking back, the Progressive Liberal Party published a document called A Blueprint for Change. And I would encourage every Bahamian to become intimately familiar with that document, because it purports to be the Progressive Liberal Party's blueprint for how it will govern the country. And that blueprint must begin when the members of Parliament are sworn in tomorrow and Mr. Davis names his cabinet. And you and I have an interesting bit of prestidigitation to do. We can look into the crystal ball and try and pick cabinet ministers and what their portfolios might be. And I will engage in that behavior momentarily. There were some seats. I'm trying to be good, so I'm going to continue to be good. All right. So the challenge that I think Mr. Davis will have in naming his cabinet is that there are an awful lot of inexperienced, in terms of politically, inexperienced people who are suddenly now in a position to be called upon to exercise oversight over a government ministry. And I believe that there are some people in the list, I guess, who I think would make, it makes sense to have cabinet ministers, make cabinet ministers of them, but where they will go, I think remains to be seen. I think that Glenys Hanna Martin is obviously a cabinet minister. She's served in the cabinet before as a Minister of Transport and Aviation. And it is possible that she would go back there, but I think that would be a waste of a really good minister. I think she should be in one of the premier ministries, either national security or education or something. Al Sears, I think, is the obvious pick for Attorney General. Fred Mitchell, I suspect, will want to go back to Foreign Affairs. Wayne Monroe is also, I think, possibly a cabinet minister. If Al is Attorney General, I guess Wayne is they probably will bring back the position that that Damian Gomez held, and have Wayne as a Minister of Legal Affairs. The next sort of ministerial person, I suppose, would be Dr. Michael Darville, who is in the Senate. And my suspicion is they'd probably ask him to be Minister of Health. And they'll probably ask Mike Halkitis to sit in the Senate, even though he lost to Shannon Dawn Cartwright. They'll ask Mike to sit in the Senate and serve as State Minister for Finance. Brave would probably want to take the Ministry of Finance himself, but I think Chester would probably want that as well. So that's, I know that, I would imagine that that's a discussion that they've been having. One can only assume that Obadiah Hercules Wilshcombe will return to tourism. And I imagine that if they keep the Ministry of Trade, but they said they were going to start a new ministry for financial services. And I think Chester might be interested in that new ministry. So I'm going to put Chester in the new Ministry of Financial Services. I imagine that they would probably want to give Keith Bell a ministry as well. And in terms of junior ministers, Keith Bell would probably lead that horde of junior ministers, as would, and in that crowd would be Ginger Moxie and Zane Lightburn. Ginger is a business and marketing guru. Zane has decades of trade union experience. And I have oh, yeah. Okay, where were Belinda? I don't know. I must have been asleep. Thank you so much. Chester has already been sworn in as the Minister of Tourism, Investments, and Aviation. Ooh. Thank you very much, Belinda. I don't know where I was. I think I must have been asleep. Do you think the rest of my calls are sensible at the very least? And I was right about investments, certainly, anyhow. Oh, you disagree? Well, send me your list then. Oh, and Tenaj, I'm not in the studio, so I can't see the people who are texting in. If you can get those and send them to me, or you can just read them to me, that would be great. Because I do want people to be able to respond to the prognostications that are coming down, and that is that's important. So that is to say, folks, you can go ahead and send us your text messages. You know, if you have my WhatsApp, you're welcome to WhatsApp me. You can also put your messages on Facebook, and I'll give out the numbers for texting in just a few seconds. But I need to finish fixing my little list here since I was corrected. If there is no Ministry of Tourism and Aviation for Obi, then what will they do with him? That's going to be interesting. That is going to be interesting. Okay, so to go back now to prognosticating. I wish to, wow, the government of the Bahamas website hasn't changed yet. That's fascinating. Anyway, I want to go back through the list. All right. So at present, the cabinet exists. The cabinet contains a Minister of Environment and Housing, a Minister of Social Services and Urban Development, an Attorney General, which I believe, as I said, is Alice Sayers, and Minister of Legal Affairs, which would probably be split, or not necessarily split, but you'd have Wayne as the Minister of Legal Affairs and Al as Attorney General. Minister of Foreign Affairs, which can't see anybody but Fred Mitchell in that position. A Minister of Public Works, a Minister of Health, which I believe would be Dr. Michael Darville, a Minister of Education. Chester has already been sworn in as the Minister of Tourism and Aviation with the portfolio of investments folded in. It'll be interesting to see if they keep the position of a state minister for disaster preparedness management and reconstruction, or whether they get rid of that. I know that, as I have said, they're going to create a new ministry centered around financial services. So that probably means some kind of a restructuring of the Ministry of Financial Services, Trade and Industry and Immigration. Ministry of Public Service, a Minister of Public Service and National Insurance, a Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, National Security, Transport and Local Government, Agriculture and Marine Resources, and a Minister of State for Finance. I think this is going to be very important. I think environment and housing is an important ministry in that environmental policy is critical to the proper running of, the proper running of, so sorry, folks. I'm communicating with the, what? You know, oh, okay. So, almost gave the producer my old phone number. So if you want to text us, you can text us at 422-4796. That's 422-4796. So environment and housing, I mean, the government's housing plan is one of the pillars of the blueprint for change. And so I would imagine that they would want a very senior member of parliament to be responsible for that. And if tourism and aviation already has a minister and investments are folded into that, it means that I think Glennis might be available, but I don't know if that's where they put her. Social services and urban development. I think that ministry is ripe for change. And I believe I would be horrified if Mr. Davis followed the format, I suppose, and asks one of the 7 women who have been elected to the House to lead that ministry. I would hope that he would go in another direction. Obviously, whoa. Okay. Oh, that was from another time. Okay, so sorry. I'm just reading some of these text messages. Yes, the show is live. Quincy, amazing things the F&M did. Mr. Parker, you are too intelligent for that, sir. And I see this. Yes, the show is live. I stand by what I said, and I'm not an F&M apologist, so it's up to them to stand by what they said. It's up to them to state for a certainty what they did and whether any of it was any good. Okay. Hearing you speak, Quincy, I am convinced now that Minnis was entrenched in an echo chamber. I was saying for a couple of years now that F&Ms would not come out to vote for Dr. Minnis, begging the party to choose a new leader. You guys, I'm not sure who the you guys are, kept focusing on these quote unquote undecided, quote unquote young voters, as if older people would come out to vote for Dr. Minnis because they didn't have a choice. Well, seems like the quote pissed off older voters, unquote, just didn't show up. Stop ignoring Bahamians. I think this is a continuation of the same text. I'm not certain. It says, if elections were next week and the F&M refused to move Dr. Minnis, I'd stay home again. I don't regret a thing. If the PLP messes up, I will complain. Don't tell me that I can't. I born here, my Grammy born here, she had a Bahamian passport, and I have a Bahamian passport. What I was not going to do is place a man I know to be petty and vindictive back in office. If you all want to dream that anybody regrets not voting, and again, I'm not sure who y'all is, I'm only giving you my opinion, and I am not affiliated with the F&M. Keep Dr. Minnis as leader and lose in 2026 too. Yes, I recognize that I recognize that I was asleep all day yesterday and missed Chester being sworn in. So I apologize for that, and I apologize to Chester as well. This text says backbench for Obi since Brave's hand was forced in nominating him in the first place. Okay, well, thank you, text messengers. Please keep the text coming, absolutely. So I'm going back to try, I really want to try and assign, just for an exercise for us to have a little fun together. I want to try and have a minister or a potential minister for every ministry. So for environment and housing, I am going to pick for environment and housing, I am going to pick Miles LaRota. No, Miles got so much experience, man. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Miles LaRota. For social services, as I said, his problem is going to be that he has a paucity of experienced individuals to choose from. And frankly speaking, the women who were elected are among the strongest of his candidates. Pia Glover-Roll could do it. I suppose Leslie Miller Bryce could do it. Even Senator Jo Beth Colebrook could do it as well. But as I say, I don't think that Brave will put a woman in social services. I think he wants to be progressive and find another role for the women in his cabinet. For AG, Al Sayers, obviously, Minister of Legal Affairs, Wayne Monroe. I'd be shocked if that isn't right. Foreign Affairs, gotta be Fred Mitchell. No, it doesn't have to be, but I imagine that it will be. Health, I have Mike Darbo. Education is a big one. Education is a huge one. Now, this is one of those where I see he's going to have to put somebody like Glennis or himself. I'm gonna say Glennis at education. Tourism has already been spoken for. I don't think they're going to keep the disaster preparedness thing. If they do, and the texter is right about Obi being on the backbench, that might be something for Obi to do. But given that they've already put tourism in Chester's hands, this texter's position is not unreasonable. So maybe they do keep disaster preparedness, management, and reconstruction, and give that to Obi since he's a Grand Bahama MP. Maybe. I'll put that down for now. Financial services, trade, industry, and immigration. That new ministry, I think, is going to go to Ginger Moxie. Public service. Ooh. Public service and national insurance. That's going to be a rough one. I'm going to ruminate on that for a little while longer. Youth, sports, and culture. That one is, I think, available for any of the problem is he's got so many young people that I think the temptation is going to be to put someone young there, or by young I mean inexperienced. And I don't know if I think youth, sports, and culture deserves more than that, frankly speaking. I think it deserves somebody with experience and somebody with I'm going to say it, somebody with some vision, somebody with a plan to go somewhere. Youth, sports, and culture. We'll have to look at that. To continue going, national security. I can hear Keith Bell arguing for it now. but I don't know. We'll have to see. I can't imagine that that's transport and local government. If Obi does get no, because there's still agriculture and marine resources. And that a lot of things have been happening in that ministry that needs continuity, and that needs a senior minister, somebody with some heft in the cabinet. So we'll have to see about, I think he's going to have to put somebody, like I say, with a bit of experience in there, because that's a bread basket ministry. That's where some of the changes that are going to put the Bahamas on a new footing for self-sufficiency are going to come from. So I think we definitely need that. We'll take a break here, and when we come back, we will continue. Before the break, I want to read this text. It says, Leslia Miller would be an ideal candidate for social services. She's a philanthropist at heart with great managerial skills. So, well, there you go. That's one vote for Leslia as a cabinet minister here. So here we go. I will take a short break, and when we come back, we'll read more of your texts. You can text us at 422-4796, and we'll continue trying to fill out the Brave Davis cabinet. Thank you.
Have you heard about the COVID vaccine raffle? If you are vaccinated against COVID-19, you can enter to win amazing prizes like food store gift certificates, hotel stays, beach excursions, and so much more. Even if you are previously vaccinated, you can still enter to win. The COVID vaccine is free, safe, and protects you from severe COVID-19 infections. Don't delay. Get vaccinated today and enter to win. Visit www.vaxbahamas.com to register.
Always on the go? Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Political Review. I just remembered something. I just remembered what I saw on Thursday night with Danny Johnson and some other folks celebrating the win. And I think he is going to pull Danny Johnson in either as health, or he's going to put Danny back in youth sports and culture. So that probably means he's going to make Danny a senator and give him that position from the Senate. And that opens up all manner of other interesting appointments, if that is true. It's this text. Oh my God. Okay. This text says, Brave already backpedal on the curfew commitment. Brave gotta go, worst PM ever. Text, it's only day 3 of a new day. You can't say that yet. I mean, obviously you're free to say what you want, but yeah. Mr. Parker, if you believe anything will change as a result of this new government, and you are wrong again. This country is set on a course by forces greater than our leaders. It's like being on a bus that is set on a destination, and no matter who the driver is, the bus continues to that set destination. We only elect who will drive the bus. This is why, when in opposition, a party will criticize a government policy only to enforce it when they become the government. It's a game, sir. Texter, I wish I could say that you are talking nonsense, but what you are saying is not wrong. I'm not sure it's right, but I cannot dismiss it. And I thank you for your input. Oh, okay. So someone has decided to share with me their views. And I think I'm actually going to take one of these things and steal it for myself. So there you go. This text says, for public service and NIB, Miles Larota, for housing and immigration, Mikhail Barnaby. They have Glennis at Ministry of Works. Obviously, Mike Halkitis at Finance as a senator. Mario Bolag for Sports and Culture, with Pia Glover-Roll as a parliamentary secretary. Social Services, Leslie Miller Bryce, and Zane as education. This next text, I think, is a continuation of the other one, which says, this is why they make the most ridiculous decisions that leave us bewildered. I think this is the text that continues from the one that says that we're in a bus predestined by someone else. So this is why the problems aren't solved. This is why they don't pass laws and bills that focus on uplifting the people. Mr. Parker, if a man came to fix your roof and he said, boy, that's a hard job, would you hire him? And if you hired him, would you still pay him if the roof still leaks? How can we make excuses for MPs saying their job is hard? Making sensible decisions is hard, sir. Making sensible decisions is it hard? It's not hard. Making informed decisions is difficult sometimes if you are lacking information. And to me, that's why I think it's so important who these cabinet posts go to, because even though it can be argued, and it has been argued, that the permanent secretaries and the senior civil servants actually run the ministries, the fact is that the ministers are the vessels of government policy. And it is the government's policy that determines the overall direction that the ministries are going in. Every ministry has 1,000,001 things on the to-do list, and it's all about government policy that determines which of those 1,000,001 things the permanent secretaries and senior civil servants focus their time and energy on. And so a strong cabinet will allow for the kind of decency and order in government operations that would let things move in a way that actually accomplishes something, as opposed to what we've seen in the last 25 years, which is one administration starts something and then the next administration stops it and goes in a different direction because they believe that somehow the new direction is a better direction. What I find fascinating, if you look at the Progressive Liberal Party's blueprint for change, the last few pages, it talks about the National Development Plan as if the intention is for the National Development Plan to serve as some kind of an overarching guiding force for government policy. Now, that is what the plan, I think, is intended to do. It was discarded to an extent, or at least talking about it, let me rephrase, talking about it was discarded by the Minnis administration. But at the Government and Public Policy Institute of the University of the Bahamas, Zhivago Lang's entire work was, and I suppose still is, to create key performance indicators, or KPIs, for the National Development Plan so that implementation of the plan can be done in a measured and accountable way. I'm a fan of the National Development Plan. I think it is something that, having read a lot of it, it's a huge document. I support it 150%, and I think that every party and person who is interested in governing the Bahamas should commit to it and agree that the priorities and the development directions that are outlined in the National Development Plan are, in fact, the way we as a country will go. And that way, I think we'll be in a much better position. And I think that if the Progressive Liberal Party is able to entrench the National Development Plan to some extent during the Brave Davis administration, then that will have been a good thing. And we'll have to see just what happens with regard to that. All right, so at this point, our cabinet is shaping up to look like this. We have Al Sears as Attorney General. We have Wayne Monroe as Minister of Legal Affairs. We have Fred Mitchell as Minister of Foreign Affairs. We have Dr. Michael Darville as the Minister of Health. We have Ginger Moxie in the new Financial Services Ministry. We have Danny Johnson in the Senate as the Minister of Youth, Sports, and Culture. And we have State Minister for Finance in the Senate, Michael Alcides. That leaves us with, obviously, tourism has been spoken for, Chester Cooper. And that is an interesting choice. I'm very curious to see what Chester, what his plan is. And I'm curious to talk to him about why that choice of all of the choices he could have made as for when he, as for what cabinet position he would have. So let's ask him. All right. So that leaves open environment and housing, social services. There's a texter who is agreeing with me that Michael Darville is going to health. That leaves, so as I was saying, that leaves open environment and housing, social services, education, transport and local government, agriculture and marine resources, and public works. I'm not sure whether or not Mr. Davis has decided to take a portfolio as yet. Okay. Here, well, dear. This text says, "Hello, Parker. As long as Vaughn Miller doesn't get a cabinet post, then all is well. He is a lousy MP, and jumping from party to party is in poor taste and should not be rewarded. He is an unethical hypocrite. As a Christian and pastor, Vaughn Miller did Alcides a dirty one." Okay, this person, I think this person is trying to answer the question as to things that were done under the FNM. The dump was fixed, as well as the garbage collection system. The move towards e-government is well in train. The control of the airspace, the new home porting agreements, historic legislation in fisheries, the new BPL upgrades, and then the text says, "This government," meaning the Brave Davis administration, "has a lot of ground to cover." And the text says, "I'd give them 1 month before things start hitting the fan. I'll wait for the free COVID test, the decrease in VAT, without racking up any downgrades." This texture is joining in to say that Clay Sweeting would go in agriculture and marine resources. And Joe Beth is going to housing. All right, I hear you. I hear you. It's almost as if this person is speaking from inside knowledge, but I doubt that. We'll see. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It is I'm on the air, bro. Ooh. Sorry. So we still need to figure out, I think the reason I brought up whether or not Brave has taken or has indicated a desire to have a cabinet portfolio is that public works is still unaccounted for, as is transport and local government and agriculture and marine resources and education. These are big deal ministries. And I do not see enough heavyweights to cover them all. So now we are in the realm, now we go to the realm of, I mean, obviously all of this is guessing, but now we really start guessing. Because a lot of these people are relatively unknown to anyone outside of their party. And so it's going to be interesting. I know that Bacchus Roll wants a cabinet position. I mean, I'm assuming that they all do. Otherwise, you know, what's the point, right? You want to get to the top of the hill. Otherwise, don't start the journey. So, social services. Who are you going to put in social services? Well, if the texter is right, that's a good home for Leslie Bryce. So we'll see. Man, I don't know if, all right, so I'm going to put Glennis back in transport. I really think that's a waste. I think she should be either in public works or education. But I think that transport is a very delicate ministry right now, and it probably does need someone who's had some experience there before. So I guess Aunt Glennis would probably be the best choice for that. Agriculture, and I can't see Keith Bell as a Minister of National Security. I'm sorry, I just can't. I see him as a junior minister, a parliamentary secretary, but national security is, you know, it requires something. Man, who would he put there? Bell does have Senate experience, and he was a police prosecutor. So I mean, it seems like it fits. There's just something about it I don't feel comfortable with. But all right, so we'll put Keith Bell there with a question mark. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's wrong. Agriculture and marine resources, one of our texters said that would be Clay Sweeting. That'll be interesting to see. So now we have education and public works. Two of the biggest cabinet positions that exist. I think Mr. Davis is going to have to take a portfolio. I don't think he has the luxury that Menace had of Yeah, maybe. I don't think he has the luxury that Menace had of taking no portfolio. So I'm going to say Brave will take Public Works. As for is there going to be a Ministry of Grand Bahama? If there is, I suppose that's a natural for Ginger Moxie. I would be surprised if they keep it. But, you know, we'll see. This texter says, after, okay, there's a different text here. It says, Ginger Moxie. Oh, that's funny. This one says, Ginger Moxie, Minister of Grand Bahama, Education, Sears, Sweeting for Agriculture and Marine Resources. Bell is going to National Security. Pia Glover, Minister of Youth, and LaRoda for Minister of Labor. Well, those are all. I could see Al Sayers as a Minister of Education, which would leave Wayne as AG and Minister of Legal Affairs. But I kind of see Wayne as an Attorney General, though. I don't think he would want to be Attorney General, honestly. It's fascinating. Fascinating. As for youth, sports, and culture, this person says Pia Glover role. I still say Donnie Johnson from the Senate. I know that there must be a role for Pia Glover role somewhere. But I don't think it's youth, sports, and culture. And labor. Yeah. Miles could be either public service or labor. So that's another one to consider. Although, given, as I was saying, though, given his union experience, I'm going to leave Miles LaRoda at public service and put Zane in labor. Or that could flip-flop and go the other way. So we got a cabinet here, folks. And it is it a good one? I don't know. What do you think? Let's look at it. And then we're gonna have to do the shadow in the FNM, right? Who's gonna shadow what? Unless somebody can tell me that Brave has decided not to take a portfolio. Oh my Lord. This country, this is a text message that says, this country has been raped by the Pindling Christie Ingram Davis clan. It's like they vowed that they will all one day be prime minister at any cost. Now they gloat. And this text says, you know the mistake we make about national security? We assume it's about crime. And if you were a senior policeman, you could handle the job. Wrong. It's much bigger than crime. We need someone there with a brain, a big brain, visionary and strategic thinking. You have to spot threats before they happen. Not this, we've never done this before, excuse. That does not describe Keith Bell. anything that threatens our existence, man-made or natural, is national security. Dexter, you and I are 150% in alignment. I agree with everything that you've said from the first sentence, that we make a mistake when we think national security is about a senior policeman, all the way to your last sentence. And I especially agree that this does not describe Keith Bell. Maybe Mr. Bell and I don't know each other well enough yet. So, we'll see as time goes on. But I think national security is a very, 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 very big post to fill. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't pretend or presume that I am in Brave's brain. So we will see. To my cousin, Corey, I would like to say happy birthday, Corey Roll, AKA DJ Counselor, AKA E. Corey Roll, Doctor, I believe, E. Corey Roll, PhD. And many, many, many more birthdays to you, Corey. Love you, cousin. So yeah, this is a good exercise because it tells us. I can imagine, or it helps. Let me rephrase. It helps me to imagine the struggles that Prime Minister is going through to try to name his cabinet, because it's not just about plugging in bodies. It's about capacity. It's about character. It's about being able to withstand pressure. And in many cases, it's about experience. I'm particularly interested to see what he's going to do with Obi Wilshcombe, because Obi is one of the few on his team with extensive cabinet experience. And having Chester step in and take tourism when you have Obi Wilshcombe on your parliamentary team is sending some kind of a message. I'm not sure what that message is, but I think we'll all see that play out over the next little while. All right, so I wanted to also reiterate the 10 points of the PLP's 10-point plan, and to point out that in the document, which they refer to as their blueprint for change, they promise in the first 100 days that, and I'm going to just quote the document here, our critical agenda for execution within the first 100 days in office will address some of the urgent initiatives we believe are necessary to rescue our people and our country with smart goals. So I suspect what that means is that tomorrow we should hear from the Prime Minister what exactly will be happening in this first 100 days. And we'll come back to that roadmap in a few minutes. If it's all right with you, Madam Producer, I'd like to take a little break here. And when we come back, we'll go back to the PLP's Blueprint for Change to see what we can expect in the coming year. We'll try to tighten up our views on who's in the cabinet and what their role might be. And I think that's going to be interesting until tomorrow, when we'll find out for sure who is who and what is what. And after that, it's going to be off to the races. People got work to do. And we'll see how they do that work. So for now, let's take a break. We'll be right back here on the Political Review.
Girl, Junior just showed me Bella Boy in his phone.
What you mean? He take picture of that good-for-nothing boy?
Shh, you don't want Bella here. You say that. You know she always say that's my good child.
So what he doing in Junior phone?
Oh, he there because the police looking for him. He on their wanted list.
Wanted persons in your phone now?
Yes, child. And when police want to find anybody quick, after something happen, they can send pictures direct to your phone. Go to Google Play or App Store and search for Crack Crime Bahamas, then pick install, and it will go straight to your phone.
There is also a section on missing persons?
Yes, girl. Everybody needs to get this app so police can tell us right away when these people go missing. Just like an alert system.
Yes, it has numbers for Crime Stoppers Bahamas, so you can call and nobody knows it's you. Call directly to Miami and give the information without giving your name or anything about you. I tried the other day, and when I hear Junior and his boys talking about where they hide those guns, I walk quick round the corner and call that number.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
Our free pick, pack, delivery service gives everyone in the Family Islands a chance to shop a variety of club products and prices right from home. Simply call or WhatsApp your order to 242-677-7266 or email order@amlfoods.com. A friendly customer service representative is waiting to pick, pack, and deliver your order to the mailboat of your choice. The options are truly endless, and with membership you save even more. So order today and let Costrite pick, pack, and deliver right to you.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Political Review. My name is Quincy Parker. It is my pleasure to be with you today, the 19th of September. Sweet Jesus, have mercy on our souls. The year of our Lord 2021. I cannot believe this. I have a birthday coming on Tuesday. Just can't believe how fast this year has flown. My goodness, man. So last Thursday, the people of the Bahamas went to the polls, and they made a decision about who they wanted to govern them for the next 5 years. And that decision was made by 65% of the registered voters, which is certainly the lowest voter turnout that I have ever heard. I'm pretty sure it's the lowest voter turnout in modern history. But that 65% of voters overwhelmingly selected the Progressive Liberal Party to govern the Bahamas. And it is, I think, accepted that one of the major factors in the lopsided nature of the win is that the FNM, by and large, stayed home. Now, we've had some messages from some of my texters who have made it plain that in at least some cases, there is no remorse because as long as Dr. Minnis is the leader of the party, there will be a certain feeling of disconnection. And we spoke to the question of perceived arrogance and perceived disconnection between the party leadership, the party cabinet, sorry, and its supporters. And I think the texter, the one in particular that I'm thinking about, sort of makes my point that that disconnect is real, and that antipathy between Dr. Minnis and FNM supporters is equally real. One of the things that I found particularly fascinating during this election season was the silence of former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham. It is, I think, anecdotal by now that Ingraham is one of the most popular FNMs that exist. And I am almost certain that if former Prime Minister Ingraham had taken to the campaign trail as he did in 2017, that he would have been able to affect voter turnout in a real way. Because of course, that's how we are in this country. We are a people who love our leaders. We identify with individuals and not necessarily the positions they hold. And I think Ingraham's absence is telling vis-a-vis the attitude of the FNM towards Dr. Hubert Minnis. But Dr. Minnis won comfortably in Killarney. So that puts the FNM in a bit of a quandary when you have enough of your people stay at home from the polls in protest of Dr. Minnis's leadership. But now, my understanding is that Dr. Minnis does not intend to resign as leader of the party. And so what does the FNM do? What should the FNM do? What can the FNM do? These are questions for the Free National Movement. And of course, we'll be paying very close attention. And we'll try to see what we can see, and whatever information we get, we'll share with you. But the FNM has some very serious questions to answer, beginning with, does the FNM keep Hubert Minnis as its leader? And I think all the other questions flow from that. So, to the Progressive Liberal Party's 10-point plan. First point, now, when I first read this document and shared bits and pieces of it with you on air, I talked about the gamesmanship of the language. And I still feel the same way, that the language here is very carefully crafted to paint a particular picture, which I don't necessarily agree is, in all cases, the reality. But given that the Progressive Liberal Party won, and overwhelmingly, I am very clearly in the minority on that. And so I will read the document and remind us all of what the PLP promises to do. Number one, rescuing the economy. The PLP will, quote unquote, restore the Bahamian economy and foster an unprecedented level of growth while managing the national debt and ensuring that the people and infrastructural needs are simultaneously met. Economic diversification, digitization, and innovation will be key to returning the Bahamas to a path of exponential growth and progress. Sorry, folks, I can't just read the document. I wish I could, but it just wouldn't be me. I think it must be pointed out that any growth in our economy is predicated on the strength of the economy over time. And so my suspicion is that there will be unprecedented growth in the economy. But I think it would be unfair and untrue for the PLP that just got elected on Thursday to arrogate to itself or to its policies, which have yet to be enacted, the unprecedented growth that I do believe is coming. I believe that growth is coming because over the past 10 years, the economy has been positioned in such a way to take advantage of new developments in both tourism and financial services and international affairs, and that the Progressive Liberal Party will be able to either successfully plug in and thus ride that wave of growth or not. But it won't be, the growth won't be because of their policies exclusively. The growth will be the extent to which that growth happens and trickles down, quote unquote, I hate that term, trickles down. The extent to which any growth that does happen is felt by the masses will be because of the PLP's policies. So that remains to be seen. And I just want to point out that economic diversification, digitization, and innovation, which I agree will be key to returning the Bahamas to a path of exponential growth and progress, are not static things. They are already in progress. It's up to the PLP to either speed that progress up or redirect that growth, but that is already happening. And so I just want to be very clear about the ability of the Brave Davis administration to lay claim to what is no doubt coming. And I want to point out that it has more to do with the work of the governments of the past 10 years than it does with the work of the government that just got elected. There's a question here from a texter. Can Davis name Komalafi and McAlpine as senators? Smart people with valuable contributions, even though not PLP. And this next one says, write one letter to the Governor General, ask Loretta. I think that has to do with the F&M leadership. As for whether Davis can name Komalafi and McAlpine, absolutely he could. He most assuredly could. That's entirely within his purview. He would have to explain to two PLPs why he chose to give their Senate seats away, but he could, absolutely. Okay, number 2 on the PLP's 10-point plan after rescuing the economy is compassionate social relief and strengthened security. The PLP says, we commit to assisting the most vulnerable in our society. Since its establishment in 1953, a fundamental philosophy of the PLP was to uplift the downtrodden. Today, in the midst of COVID-19 and the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian, we will guarantee a robust and expansive safety net for our people. We will also commit to enhancing crime fighting methodologies in our aggressive war against crime. Number 3, reconstruction and resiliency. While rebuilding the devastated islands of Abaco, Grand Bahama, and Ragged Island, we will execute a comprehensive strategy for disaster management, mitigation, and relief. We will make massive improvements in infrastructure and energy. So, for the first 3 points so far, what we should be looking for is unprecedented growth in the economy, economic diversification, digitization, and innovation in the economy. We should be looking for an expanded social safety net. We should be looking for a quote unquote aggressive war against crime with enhanced crime fighting methodologies. And we should be looking for a comprehensive strategy for disaster management, mitigation, and relief. That suggests to me that they'll keep that newly formed ministry and maybe reform it just a bit. And we should be looking for quote unquote massive investments in infrastructure and energy. Number 4, Bahamian empowerment. The PLP promises to launch an aggressive program or an aggressive campaign to empower Bahamians and to create an environment where every Bahamian can thrive. We will unlock our individual and collective potential and human capability, harnessing the power of innovation. There's nothing really there to hold on to except an idea. It's a powerful idea to empower Bahamians and create an environment where every Bahamian can thrive. Powerful idea. How will they do it? We'll see. Number 5, commitment to sovereign wealth fund and the natural resources. The PLP says we commit to a thorough assessment and management of our natural resources for the ultimate benefit of Bahamians. We will establish a robust sovereign wealth fund. For my money, they are possibly late to the party. Under Romy Ferreira, the Minister administration passed legislation that assesses and defines what are the natural resources of the Bahamas. And the legislation for a sovereign wealth fund has also been put forward. So I suspect that they maybe will plan to perfect or continue what has already been done. I don't know, we'll see. Number 6, revolution in education. The PLP says we want to refocus our efforts on a shared vision for education and lifelong learning. Education is still the great equalizer. It's the bedrock of all progress and prosperity. And number 7, a progressive youth agenda. The PLP wants to introduce innovative youth development programs, something called a First Job program, something called a National Mentorship Program, something called Community Youth Service, and something called Innovations in Education. We will ensure access to opportunities irrespective of, quote, who you know, unquote. Number 8, a healthy Bahamas. The PLP promises to prioritize the health and wellness of our people with national health insurance and affordable health care. We will implement sustainable national education programs to fight lifestyle-related diseases. Number 9, a plan for each island. Here they promise to deliver the critical needs of each island. With vision and a master plan, we will strengthen the entire Bahamas. And number 10, national development. We commit to good governance with integrity, accountability, and a robust national and economic development agenda that prioritizes Bahamians. The PLP will ensure that the necessary reforms are executed for a progressive Bahamas. Now, granted, those are very broad statements, and they are elaborated on in the document itself, which again, I encourage everybody to go to the PLP's website and download a copy of our Blueprint for Change and read it, become familiar with it, so that you know what you're supposed to be getting from this government and can hold them accountable for what they do in fact deliver. And as I had mentioned, I'm going to go back to at the end of the document, they give sort of a framework for how they're going to deliver. And this is where I think the real ability to hold the government accountable comes into play. Because they talk a lot about SMART goals here. And SMART is an acronym which means specific, measurable, attainable, and results-oriented goals with timelines. And so I'm assuming that the first 100 days will have specific, measurable, attainable, and results-oriented goals with timelines associated with them. So the first thing that they're going to do in terms of execution has to do with shovel-ready projects. Starting now, the PLP says, we will begin to shepherd projects in the pipeline so that they begin on day 1 of our administration. I wonder how they are counting the days of their administration. Because I cannot recall any projects, shovel-ready or not, that began on the 17th of September. So I'm assuming that that means that they are counting their administration as beginning from when Parliament opens in October. But we'll see. Next, we talk about a commitment to execution. The PLP is saying that they're going to create an enabling framework to execute its short-term plan in line with agreed targets. They will complete, relaunch, and legislate the National Development Plan on or before their second anniversary in office. I think that means within the first year. So that is a big commitment, because that document is very large, it's very important, and the necessity for key performance indicators and SMART goals means that it's not just words on a page. So we'll have to make sure that we're keeping a very close eye on that and the level of detail. The planning unit, the administration, the Brave Davis administration, plans to relaunch the Economic Development and Planning Unit. They will immediately review the fiscal status and the state of the Treasury and reorder and communicate our priorities based upon the realities we find. We will revise budgets as necessary for capital works and allocation for key projects. In other words, we can see if there's any cookies in the jar and whether the cupboard is bare before they tell you how much they can spend, which makes sense to me. Yeah, key performance indicators. The administration plans to establish an executive monitoring system with established KPIs, with target dates for tracking and completing each goal. Execution teams. They will identify and appoint the best minds in the country to the boards to ensure the execution of their plans and policies. I already read the first 100 days thing. I'm going to reread it in the context of the 10 goals and everything else we've read so far. It says, our critical agenda for execution within the first 100 days in office will address some of the urgent initiatives we believe are necessary to rescue our people and our country, again, with SMART goals. And with reporting, it's a requirement for consistent reporting on a party, constituency, ministry level to maximize accountability. And I encourage, as I have said, all Bahamians to get a copy of this document, read it, become familiar with it. Because again, these are the things to which you as an electorate, you, the people who voted for this government, we, the people who voted for this government, will have to hold them accountable for what they are doing with our government and our power and our money and our resources. There is a problem in Bahamian politics. Well, let me read this text before I say that. This text says, listening to this list, once again, is easy to write in paper, but no explanation how they plan to achieve them. Not a promising start, as dreams can't solve real issues. Texter, I hear you. That's why I encourage everybody to go get a copy of the document and read through some of the details. 3 weeks ago, I read through some of the document on the show. I spent 2 hours reading and sharing with you what their specific plans are to achieve some of these goals. And so I think it's necessary that you do that for yourself so that you know whether they are succeeding or failing at what they promised you they would do. And what I was saying about this failing in Bahamian politics is we have an understanding of politics in the Bahamas that is almost, it's entrenched for sure, and it's unshakable. It is almost as if we it's almost as if we are, I don't want to say unable, but it almost seems like we're unable to view politics as anything but an opportunity for personal advancement. The reality of our politics is this: when your party is in, you eat. That means that when your party is in power, you get the benefits of whatever the country has to offer. I have friends and family. I know people and acquaintances and who are party supporters of either party, either of the two big parties, and their expectation is that if the party they support is in power, then their economic fortunes should be advanced as a matter of natural course. Now, again, I'm not saying that is, I can't say whether that's right or wrong, but I will say that is how we see it. And one of the things that makes political fights in the Bahamas so vicious is that very idea that when your party is in, you eat. And so what that means now is you have a whole bunch of people who supported this government, who are expecting to benefit more than anybody else from what this government does. And then on the other side, you have a whole bunch of people who didn't support this government, who are expecting that they will be somehow disadvantaged by the actions of this government. Because that's how we have conducted our politics. And that's how politics, I suppose, the world over is conducted. It's a reality of politics. When your party is in, you eat. And I know I'm naive. What I'm about to say is incredibly naive. I probably shouldn't even say it. But I'm going to say it anyway. I hope that this administration is different. I hope that, contrary to history, contrary to our own expectations, contrary to our political traditions, that this administration will not treat anybody with fear or favor, but will look at every Bahamian as a Bahamian. It's all through the document that they want to, quote unquote, advantage all Bahamians and prioritize Bahamians and this, that, and the next. But too often, when you read a document like this, you can substitute the word Bahamians for party supporters. And I'm saying to Prime Minister the Right Honorable Brave Davis, Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable I. Chester Cooper, and the rest of the soon-to-be cabinet of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. You promised to prioritize Bahamians. Let that be all Bahamians, not just PLPs. See what that's like. See how that works. Otherwise, we'll be right back here again in 5 years, if it takes that long. I'd like to send an acknowledgement to my friend Adrian Francis, Vincent Adrian Francis, my former colleague here on Q&A. Adrian was convinced that the Minnis administration would not last for 5 years. And it turns out he was right. So in the spirit of eating humble pie, Adrian, you were right, and I was wrong. I still can't believe the man called a snap election. But in any event, he did what he thought he had to do for whatever reason, and this is the result. All right, so with our last couple of minutes, I'm just going to reread our, and I think I'm going to reread our collective cabinet picks, and tomorrow we'll see how we did. So I think Brave is going to take the public works portfolio. I think he has to. My texters say Joe Beth Colebrook for environment and housing, and Leslie Miller Bryce for social services. I say, initially I said Al Sears for Attorney General. But a texter said Al Sears for education, and I could really, really see that. So I'm torn there. But Wayne Monroe definitely for Minister of Legal Affairs. Whether he's also Attorney General, I don't know. Fred Mitchell for Foreign Affairs. Dr. Michael Darville for Health. Chester has already claimed Tourism, Aviation, and Investment. I say Miles LaRota for Public Service and NIB. I say Danny Johnson in the Senate for Youth, Sports, and Culture. I say Glennis for Transport and Local Government. The texters have convinced me. Clay Sweeting for Agriculture and Marine Resources. I think we all accept Michael Halkitis for Minister of State for Finance in the Senate. And if they keep the Ministry of Grand Bahama, Ginger Moxie would be that minister. If not, then I think she'll take whatever that new financial services ministry is. And labor, I have Zane Lightburn for labor. I am fascinated to find out what they do with Obadiah Hercules Wilchcomb, one of the most experienced people on the team. And the fact that Chester has cut in to Obi's dance with tourism is noteworthy. And I wonder where he is going to serve, if he is going to serve. And that, I think that's where we are. So that's going to do it for us this week, folks. It's been a true pleasure. And I thank you for sticking with me. And we'll see you next week at 4 o'clock. And we'll have a special guest next week well, I'll just tell you, I'll have a special guest next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you tune in. God bless and see you soon. Take care.